Hello students, I am Mohan Kumari. Welcome back to MK Classes for Biology. Today, before going to start my class, I would like to say a shloka. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. ಈ ದಿನವನ್ನು ನಾವು ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರ ದಿನವಾಗಿ ಆಚರಿಸುತ್ತೇವೆ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ನಾನು ಈ ದಿನದಂದು ಎಲ್ಲ ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರಿಗೆ ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರ ದಿನಾಚರಣೆಯ ಶುಭಾಶಯವನ್ನು ಕೋರುತ್ತೇನೆ. Once again, happy Teachers' Day to all the teachers who dedicate, sacrifice their time, energy and life to enlighten the young minds of the students. So let me start with the class now. In the previous video of the chapter Reproduction in Organisms, we were studying about events in sexual reproduction. That is pre-fertilization, fertilization and post-fertilization events. In that, we have completed pre-fertilization events that includes gametogenesis and gamete transfer. In today's class, we are going to study about other two events of sexual reproduction, that is fertilization and post-fertilization events. Let us begin with the fertilization now. What is fertilization? I can say it is the most vital event of sexual reproduction, that is, which includes the fusion of gametes. So, this process of fusion of male and female gametes called syngamy. After the fusion, that results in the formation of a diploid zygote. So, male and female gametes which fuses to form a zygote. As we know, gametes always are haploid in nature. So haploid gametes, it can be isogametes or an isogametes, fuses to form a diploid zygote. Let us see a phenomena called parthenogenesis. What is parthenogenesis? In some organisms like rotifers, these are the aquatic invertebrates which belongs to the phylum Rotifera. Honeybees and some lizards and birds, that is turkey, the female gamete itself undergo development to form new organisms without fertilization. This phenomena is called as parthenogenesis. Here you can see the image of the rotifer. Let us see types of fertilization. We can classify this fertilization into two types, that is external fertilization and internal fertilization. Let me tell you what is external fertilization. In most of the aquatic organisms, such as a majority of algae and fishes as well as amphibians, syngamy occurs in the external medium, usually in the water, that is outside the body of the organism. This is said to be external fertilization. So the major disadvantage of external fertilization is that the gametes or the offsprings which are said to be vulnerable to predators. Therefore, they need to produce large amount of gametes in order to ensure fertilization. The second type of fertilization is internal fertilization. In many terrestrial organisms belonging to fungi, higher animals such as reptiles, birds, mammals, and in a majority of plants which includes bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms and angiosperms, syngamy occurs inside the body of the organism. So that is called as internal fertilization. During internal fertilization, the male gametes are released in the close vicinity of female gametes, that is nearer to the female gametes. Internal fertilization enhances the chances of fertilization and development of zygote up to certain stage. In all these organisms, that is internal fertilization showing organisms, egg is formed inside the female body where they fuse with the male gamete. In organisms exhibiting internal fertilization, the male gamete is motile, which can show movement and has to reach the egg in order to fuse with it. In these organisms, even though the number of sperms produced is very large, there is a significant reduction in the number of eggs produced. In seed plants, however, the non-motile male gametes are carried to female gametes by the pollen tubes. So that is about the fertilization event. So let us see the post-fertilization events. So the events of sexual reproduction occurs after fertilization, said to be post-fertilization events. It includes the formation of zygote, then the embryo. Let me see what is zygote. So formation of diploid zygote after the fusion of male and female gamete is the universal in all sexually reproducing organisms. In organisms with external fertilization, zygote is formed in the external medium, whereas in those exhibiting internal fertilization, zygote is formed inside the body of the organism. So further development of the zygote depends on the type of life cycle the organism has and the environment it is exposed to. In organisms belonging to fungi and algae, zygote develops a thick wall that is resistant to desiccation and damage. It undergoes a period of rest before germination. In organisms with haplontic life cycle, zygote divides by meiosis to form the haploid spores that grow into haploid individuals. So here you can see the haplontic life cycle. Here sporophytic body it is absent, where zygote itself, diploid zygote itself represent the sporophytic body, so that undergo meiosis to produce spores. The spores develop into gametophytes. Zygote is said to be the vital link that ensures continuity of species between organisms of one generation and the next. Every sexually reproducing organisms, including human beings, begin life as a single cell, that is the zygote. The step in the sexual reproduction of the post-fertilization events, that is formation of embryo, that is called as embryogenesis. So embryogenesis, it refers to the process of development of embryo from the zygote. During embryogenesis, zygote undergoes cell division. Usually zygote divides by mitosis in all the organisms, except the organisms which show haplontic life cycle. There the zygote undergo meiosis. In other organisms, zygote undergo a cell division called mitosis. After division, which undergoes division and cell differentiation. While cell division increases the number of cells in the developing embryo, cell differentiation helps group of cells to undergo certain modification to form specialized tissue and organs to form an organism. Animals are categorized into oviparous and viviparous based on whether the development of zygote takes place outside the body of female parent or inside the body. That is, whether they lay fertilized or unfertilized eggs or give birth to young ones. So, in oviparous animals like reptiles and birds, the fertilized eggs covered by hard calcareous shell, which are laid in the safe place in the environment, after a period of incubation, young ones hatch out. In viviparous animals, majority of mammals, including human beings, the zygote develops into a young one inside the body of the female organism. After attaining a certain stage of growth, the young ones are delivered out of the body of the female organisms. Because of the proper embryonic care and protection, the chances of survival of young ones is greater in viviparous organisms. So let us see post-fertilization changes in the flower. In flowering plants, the zygote is formed inside the ovule after fertilization. The zygote now develops into embryo. The ovule develops into seed. The ovary, which develops into the fruit. Ovary wall develops into pericarp, whatever we are calling it as fruit wall. The seeds, after their dispersal from the fruits, germinate under favorable conditions to produce new plants. So this is about the fertilization and post-fertilization events in sexually reproducing organisms. To this video have completed the chapter Reproduction in Organisms. So in the next video I am going to discuss the neat part of this chapter. Thank you.